Hi, my name is Kees, and I help spiritual people find freedom and stability. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about my spiritual journey. So I've come a long way, a lot happened, and in this video you'll hear why I became a spiritual teacher. So first is first. I think as a young child I was very into God. Very interested about God and previous lives and what happened on the planet. I think a lot of kids are interested to learn about what happened on the planet in general. I told my mom when I was 4 that I liked her a lot more than my previous mom, and I also in recent years have known my last 3 lives, so I can definitely see why my mom is sort of more kind to me than my last mom. Even though much love to my last mom as well. But I think it started there, where I was talking a lot about theories of God and things like that when I was a very young kid, and I told my mother how I got my body, how the body started, and things like that. It's a very interesting stories, and I don't know, what happened there, if I made anything up. I don't think so, but I don't know. So, but then I think, in general, your conditioning starts, and you go to schools, and you get taught what to do, to sit still, to not move, to act in a certain way, to be, to be obedient, basically to be obedient. And also you learn that you're not good enough. You need to do something to be good enough. You need to sort of behave in a certain way. You need to color between the lines, you could say. And I think that frustrated me a lot, and I was never a kid that really colored between the lines, you could say. And I was never very obedient as well, I think. I was definitely not a sort of, in puberty, very rebellious or something, but I did have a lot of discussions with my parents where I tried to verbally outsmart them. Which was, a funny thing. My mom said, either you should be a lawyer, there, where they say in court, okay, shut up, case, then then we'll make sure you win the case. But no, I was definitely sort of a kid that, because of my dad was not so present, because he had a very busy job, and I tried to prove myself to him and get good grades and things like that. And especially when I was older, I had a sort of feeling where I wanted to do something with this whole sort of prove myself in the business world. I thought HR was already solved, so I wanted to be in sales or marketing or something like that, and I did. I think I also should say that my mom is very into spirituality. Still, she follows my videos and things like that. So if you're watching, hi mom. So it's really fun to be able to share that journey with her, and to be to talk about these themes as well when I was a little kid already. I think that planted the seed in my head, although I can know now that this was always meant to be, is sort of my task on earth, to help people to consciously be, to be free and stable, and be able to go with the flow, you could say, and trust life fully. And when I was 18, I found I got to look at I got to buy one book at the bookstore, and the book I bought was The Game by Neil Strauss, How to Seduce Women. And they had a couple of characters in there, and you needed to learn all these lines and things like that, all these routines which you then say to girls and things like that. And I did that a little bit, but I also started following the guys which were doing that. And one of these guys had a very interesting perspective because, he started a sort of new movement. And the new movement was that you sort of, instead of learning all these lines and acting cool, which I think I did for a couple of months, which totally not worked for me, because then I was talking to a cute girl and I was saying all these lines. She was laughing, but I had no idea what to do next, basically. So what I understood was that the other direction was, to try to make yourself more cool. You could say it was a sort of self-help sort of idea of you should try and, just be a better person in a way, not by in a sort of self-help way, you could say. So look after yourself in a from your looks to your psychology to the way you value yourself and the way you act and sort of things like that. So with that I started to become sort of into all these self-help and psychology type of social psychology type of things. And I think that really helped me because, it got me very much into, like I said, psychology and also learning about myself. And, my parents did not really have a relationship where they could easily communicate to each other. They had a lot of arguments when I was, in my teens, or they were, nitpicking about things. And I think I heard some of these psychology videos and some of these relationship videos, and I was immediately like, Mom and Dad, why are you doing this? Why are you being like this? I know it can be so much different. So I also had this sort of thing like, why haven't they seen these videos? Luckily, I was smart enough not to tell them, just watch these videos and, fix yourself or something like that. So luckily, I didn't do that. But afterwards, I got really into self-help. And I think 2 years into that, I started meditating and realizing that meditation or spirituality was maybe a way to improve myself. And I started reading Eckhart Tolle. I think I was 20, and I was starting to read, different spiritual books, but mainly just meditating and reading some Eckhart Tolle and different. I think maybe I got some other books, but I can't really remember. But I of course I had some success with the ladies in the club as well. But at some point I got a relationship and I was still meditating and things like that. But that really changed my frame of like, I don't have to really work on myself to get a girl. So I can work on I can work on my work and I can work on my spirituality, because those were the three things I was mainly working on. That I was working with my work and with girls, and my work at that time was still finishing university. And then like I said, seducing girls, doing my work, which was the university and spirituality, and so seducing girls was gone because I got a girlfriend, which I'm still in a relationship with the same girl, and then university finished, so I started working, and I started really focusing on work and also spirituality, still. But at some point, this work thing was getting, and also the spirituality thing was getting both very heavy, because I forced myself to do a lot spiritually, read a lot of books, do yoga, meditation, yoga before and meditation, I think before work, and I was very, you could say, over-focused on that in a sort of spiritual striving way. And afterwards I thought, well, okay, I should maybe do this in a little bit more relaxed way. But my work was just taking over in a way as well, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I started my own business, and I worked with an investor, and I built a business and things like that. But at some point I had a crisis in that company, and I overworked myself several times during that period, during that sort of big, you could say, big entrepreneurial job. We had 11 people at some point, and we were a tech company, and I was going to San Francisco as well. I'm from Amsterdam. I'm living in Amsterdam right now, and that was a very big thing in my life. But at some point I got a crisis with my girlfriend. I got, like, my parents. I'm an only child, so my parents had this crisis, and they were talking to me about it, and that was very frustrating as well. And also I had to, I had a crisis at work, and I had to fire 6 of the 12 people which we hired, and that was a very big thing as well. And I was watching this video at work, and it was about Osho, and from Osho, and he said, life is the purpose. Life has no goals, no purpose. Life is the purpose. And that really, really changed me. You could say that you could say it broke something. This goal striving mentality was really broken. And because of that, what happened was, in a very funny way, that I could not force myself afterwards to really do something, because it was, you could say, it was just gone. All the disciplining and all the forcing, it just felt super forced. It felt very bad to, in this way, orient myself, because I was dieting, I was, doing all these things to try to improve myself, and there was just, this immense feeling that this was so unnatural for me to do, that it was just totally okay for me to just be and to just go with the flow of life. And it was very much an awakening, but it was also very much an awakening to all the investments which I built in certain patterns of not being good enough, all these beliefs which were which were, you could say, shit, which were just terrible beliefs to have, which didn't make me happy at all. And I woke up in them as well, and I needed to take the time to do the work, the energy work, and the consciously finding them and letting go of certain energetic knots, you could say, in my body, in my mind, in my whole field. And it's a sort of a clearing up which happens, and a lot of people that have a spiritual awakening, they notice afterwards a sort of dark night of the soul, you could say. And that's the dark night of the soul, is the coming up of all this material, which is actually now seen in a different light, because usually before you were unconscious of all these patterns, and then afterwards you're super conscious of at least a couple, and then you dig them away, you find more, you find more, you find more, you find more, you find more. And in a way, this is it's an ever expanding journey. But what I noticed was that my mind was taking over this idea of fixing myself, because the ego always wants to fix you. The ego always thinks that you need to do something and you need to be better, and it's worried about status, about everything. So this was one of the ways in which my discipline came back, where I tried to fix myself through all these methods and things like that. And it was very destructive. And I think I just super overworked myself energy-wise on spending all these times on letting go of limitations, limiting beliefs, different patterns, memories, or things where I had hurt in the past and things like that. And my girlfriend gave me a lot of feedback on that she thought I was totally overworking myself, which I was. And at some point I also got a Kundalini awakening, where somehow in this letting go, in my meditation, I started noticing that my body was moving, that energy was moving through my body, and I started making these jerky movements and things like that, and that's very normal in Kundalini awakening. And it slowly, went up, and it's now actually at the crown chakra, still clearing something away. But this went up through all the 7 chakras. Starting at the root chakra and working its way up. I think 2 years ago or something like that, it was at the throat chakra, and I think 6 months ago or something was still at the third eye chakra, the 6th chakra, and now it's at the crown chakra, doing its thing. So if I go into meditation, oftentimes still I'm doing like this, because energy is flooding up very good, but then it's a little bit stuck at the crown still. But this started happening as well, and this overworking started happening, and I felt a little bit unbalanced as well, because I was doing so much in this spiritual journey, even though my realization before was that I could surrender all these disciplines, that I could let go, I could just go with the flow. And so I sort of switched between going with the flow, and then something would catch me. So sort of, I thought I was, overweight, and then sort of I would discipline myself in a sort of not good way to try to fix that. Or I thought I had so much unconscious beliefs, and I was then forcing sort of the healing instead of just letting the healing naturally happen. So some things would catch me. This is sort of and this happens to a lot of people, when they realize that they can let go, they can surrender, then they sort of go back and forth between ego and surrender. And they sort of something catches them, and they go forcing themselves in this little area, and then it can easily compound to other things. And then at some point they realize, okay, I can let go again. And then they do that, and sort of back and forth between it. And I had this for a couple of years. And I think at some point I realized, I think about a year and a half ago or something like that. Yeah, I realized that I had a sort of deeper realization that action is also, okay for me to take. As long as it's just, something that is happening automatically. And it's not forced, and it's just from a lovely place of, self-acceptance, of being okay with myself. And then, I realized that I had that a lot of more space came for me to take action, and take action in a constructive way, in a sort of divine way, in the way that life wanted to express itself. So that's I think a very beautiful way. And in the last, I think 6 months, I also had some deeper realizations regarding non-duality, because let's say I was very committed to surrendering all the experience which came up, and letting life do itself, which we call Nondoership, which is the technical term for that. But then the non-duality part, I was already teaching that, which means that everything's one, and everything is energy and things like that. But what had not clicked for me is that I was still holding on to what a lot of non-dual teachers say as well, is sort of the watcher position. And the watcher position, interestingly enough, is where you're still watching everything which happens. You're analyzing, sort of, even though the body does something, the mind does something, you let it be, it's okay. You're still sort of in there watching. And to realize that there is no one to surrender, and that there's not something to observe, that sort of dissolved the watcher position. That, all these things which happen are not even watched. They're sort of okay by itself, because there is no one to surrender, and there's no one here to do that. There's just, an endless sea of energy that's totally, okay in expressing itself, and that even gave me even more freedom and stability. So and I think for the last 3 years I've been teaching spirituality, And also I've been coaching spiritual people, help find freedom and stability. And that is, what I'm really passionate about. And it's also what I know to be sort of my life purpose here, to help with that third step of evolution from conscious doing to a conscious being. And because most people, a lot of people are very conscious right now, but a lot of people are still, fixing, doing energy work, cleaning everything with sage and things like that. All beautiful things, but from a place that they're not good enough, from a place that the other is not good enough, from the place that the space need to be fixed, or, from a sort of idea that that anything can be unaligned or unbalanced. It's sort of everything is already okay. And action can happen from a place of okayness. Action can happen from a place of flow. And that action is then perfect as well. And before it's perfect, after it's perfect, there's just perfection. And of course, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Also for me, I'm not sort of, you could say I'm perfectly imperfect, just like everybody else. It's seemingly imperfect, it seems imperfect from, and that's what you see if you look at other people, but also look at yourself. You seem imperfect, but actually that is perfection being imperfect, you could say. And it's not being imperfect. It's, being perfection itself. It's totally okay. It's totally perfect, but it sort of seems from the ego's perspective, I could say it like that. It seems imperfect. But this is a little bit about my journey. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about my journey. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. I have a free ebook and free guided meditation, which I think you would love, because the ebook is very about the very essence of non-duality. It's very, very practical. It's very short, but very, to the point. It's the best pointer I could ever give, and also one of the best pointers I've heard and seen myself. And also the guided meditation is about grounding, and grounding I think is so important, especially if you're in this phase of you're letting go of a lot of patterns, because a lot of people that watch me, they've had some sort of spiritual awakening, or they're consciously doing spirituality, and they're cleaning up all these patterns they're conscious of. Often it's really important, because when you let go of energies, you sort of you go up in your energy as well, because you become lighter, and you need to sort of ground that in your body, so you keep the energy, you could say, in your body from a metaphysical standpoint. And the grounding meditation, which I have for that, is very beautiful and very effective. It's something I do, almost on a daily basis. And even though I don't need it so much anymore, and I don't do so much any energy work anymore, this is still something which makes me feel really, really good. So check it out. I hope you enjoy it, and much love to you. Let's evolve together, and send me any questions if you have some. Bye-bye.